Hi, Gig. Hi, hello.
Hi to everybody.
Should I turn my camera? Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay.
All
Is that
right.
better?
Okay. Congratulations, ladies, for Junebug.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
I know it's a wonderful, dramatic, emotional short film of yours. So let's start with the easy question: where did the original idea for Junebug came from?
Yeah. Nikki, do you want to speak to this? I could take it away as
Sure.
well.
Yeah. So Winter reached out to me last year and was wanting to make a short film, and we had been wanting to collaborate for a long time on something. And so we got together to talk about just sort of like ideas that she had already about short films that she was thinking about, and sort of like what I was excited about. And the thing that we sort of landed on was wanting to talk about Black fatherhood specifically from the perspective of Black daughters, since that was something that we didn't see very often. And also wanting to talk about sort of how you grapple with these like more difficult or nuanced relationships as an adult when you've kind of grown up and you've made your own life and you're sort of like doing well and feeling good, but you still have sort of this baggage from your childhood or these like kind of unanswered questions from your childhood that you're still needing to figure out. And so and that's something that like both of us have our own experiences with, and was something that we were like, we'd never see this story getting told. And so we were excited about getting a chance to sort of explore that.
Very much agreed. It was it was an organic, topic for us. I felt like we had the capacity to tell that story. I felt like we were like the main character that Danielle plays felt like she was us. Like we're doing our thing, we're working, we're, building our careers, and we feel healthy and full, but there's still there's just stuff in your past you got to work through, and you can't move past it until you do the work. And so how about we explore a young Black woman doing that work and what that looks like, going back in your own childhood throughout your own memories. Let's just walk through it with her. And that's how Junebug came to be.
Well, then let's bring in Danielle here. Hey, Danielle. So
Hi.
how are you brought on board onto Junebug, and why did you want to do this short film?
Well, I went to a Netflix event and I met CJ Faison, who is one of the producers on Junebug. I met him at that event and we exchanged information. And then about a month later, I invited him to come to my one woman play. And but the day that he was coming to the play, he hit me up and was like, I got this really dope short called Junebug. Like, would you like to read it and let me know if you're interested? I'm like, you have not seen me act yet. Why? He was like, I just think you would be good for it. I think you'd be good for it. I'm like, okay. So I read it and I was like, oh my God, like it was such a touching story. It was beautiful. It definitely touched me because I had a very unique relationship with my father. Luckily, we're very close now, but growing up, it was, very strained. He was addicted to crack cocaine for a good portion of my childhood. And, we just had a hard time like getting on track. So it was just beautiful to see this story, to see Junie as a child, engaging with her father in a very loving way, even though he was going through his own stuff. She didn't know that. She just knew, this is my dad. I love him. We have fun together. He sees me for who I am. And when I was a child, it was kind of the opposite. Like my dad was, he was battling a drug addiction. And then when he got off of drugs, I was already kind of a teenager, So it was just that bumping heads and, it was a different thing. But I think the thing that touched me is that her dad was still struggling with some kind, of addiction, and how that affects you as a woman and how it influences you in your relationships, your friendships, and in your dating, relationships. And I thought that it was just beautiful to see Junie be somebody that, even though she kind of had a traumatic childhood where she didn't always feel completely safe, she was able to like the line she says, like, I don't want to think about my father like he was some kind of trauma that I experienced. You know, he was more than that. And I think that's something that, you know, really touched me when I was reading it. So then CJ came to see the play and he was like, oh my God, it's so great. I want you to do it. And then we did a reading and I got to meet Winter and Nicky, and it was great. They brought me on. I was very grateful. You know, it was a really awesome opportunity, and I'm very happy to be a part of the project.
Wow, that is actually pretty awesome. Winter, Nicky. Let's pretend Danielle's not in the room. Why do you think she was perfect?
Well, you know what? I'm glad she brought up CJ. He was kind of like my producing partner on this. And the moment he got on, you know, there were a lot of things that needed to be done fairly quickly. And casting was something that he was very comfortable taking on because we didn't have the time to find a proper casting director and do like a proper audition process. It was like, we're shooting this in 3 weeks and let's just run, which I'm fine with, you know. And once he told me he had seen Danielle in a play, and she really stood out, I was already interested. Me and Nicky come from the theater. That's how we started collaboration, was on stage. So I was like, okay, I'm down. I started doing more research on Danielle, and I'd seen her resume and like how people spoke about her and spoke about her work. So it was like, all right, she feels right. And when we met at the screening, you had an openness with no ego, you know, like everyone's coming with a different set of credits, and sometimes you feel that in the room, and I don't think that's something we tolerate. I know me and Nicky is like, you can have an Oscar, but if you're not right for this space, you're just not right for this space, right? So Danielle came in with such an openness and a freeness, and it was like, this is right. She's gonna fit into this world we're trying to build, and just, you know, it was all love. So Danielle was like a no-brainer.
So sweet. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
So for Winter and Nicky, obviously Danielle could relate to the material quite easily. Did you also draw similar experiences into the story for like a father-daughter relationship?
Yeah, so my dad is a musician. He is an alcoholic. And I did write a book about him. So you could say that there's a little bit of me in this. But I think that it's interesting because growing up, it felt like such a unique, sort of like Danielle was saying, like I felt like, is anybody else experiencing this crazy thing that I'm going through? And getting to work on this project was such an amazing experience, because like even just talking to Winter about the idea initially and how many things we had in common about how we grew up, and then everybody that came onto the project related to it in some way and had some way that it felt like it was also about them and about their parent experience, which is just like so cathartic for me as a person who made the piece, and also just like being on set and feeling like I was like reliving these moments that I remember so much from growing up and that I've held on to, that have shown up in my work in various ways. It was very surreal and really, I think, a really healing experience for me.
It felt like a healing experience almost across the board. And I think the film has been born in the sense of like authenticity, like following what feels right. And like when the actors came in, it was like they were bringing experiences, and everybody was like, we need this film. Like we have this pain that doesn't define us, but is very much a part of our stories. And I've never seen it played out that way. I've never seen that complicated relationship. And so, I think all of us felt like we were Junie in some capacity, right? And we're all kind of healing while we either play the role or direct or write or whatever. It felt like we were like pouring ourselves into it.
What about these father-daughter stories that basically, you know, resonate so well? Because it seems like these stories about, you know, damaged fathers have been going on for quite some time, and it makes me think back to all those old Disney cartoons, you know, like Lion King, Little Mermaid, Princess and the Frog, you know, that kind of stuff.
I love it.
So what about these damaged father stories that people love?
I'll let everyone speak.
I think. Oh no, you go.
No, please.
Well, okay.
Please,
I was just gonna say, I think I don't even think it's a matter of it being a damaged father. I think that it's just, there's something about seeing a father interact with their seed or with their offspring. And like with Disney, like, you know, the dads always die, like Lion King, you know, the dad dies. Princess and the Frog, the dad dies. Cinderella, the dad dies. Like, and when there is a lack of that relationship in a child's life, whether it's a woman or a man, when they lack that relationship, it does affect you greatly. Like it affects you in major ways. And many people are in therapy for many, many years when there's no father present at all, or you have a father who is in the home but is still not present. So your father can be in the home but just not be a present force in your life. And it does affect you in certain ways. And for some people, you know, they're able to get into therapy or they're able to use it for their benefit. And then other people struggle a lot with trusting people, you know. But I think the idea of seeing a father on screen, like loving their children, being a part of their children's lives, is just something that is beautiful, that most people just connect with in general. And I think the thing I loved about Junebug is that although, you know, there's complicated like issues attached to it, he was not a deadbeat dad. You know, he was there as much as he could be in the season in his life that he was in. And I think more than not, when you talk about Black fathers are caring for their children. They are taking care of their children. My dad was on crack and slept in his car outside of our house every day so that he could see us. He still wasn't, he was on crack, but he was climbing through the window trying to see us, or sleeping in his van. And every morning he was there, like, I'm a see my kids, like, you know. So yeah. I think that Junebug kind of dispels that myth that Black fathers are not present, that Black fathers choose to be estranged from their children. And I don't think what the media puts out there is necessarily true. Like, our fathers are there, flawed and all. A lot of them are there, you know.
I think also, oh, go ahead.
No. You're good.
I think also we just, as a society, especially Black people, are starved for images of men being soft, and fatherhood is one of those moments where you get to see men being vulnerable and being soft and being kind and loving and warm. And it just, we want that, we crave that so desperately. And so it's a window to get to see that. And especially Black men, who are so often portrayed as villains or criminals, getting to see them through this lens of fatherhood, where they are soft and where they're vulnerable and they're trying hard and they sometimes make mistakes, I think is just humanizing in a way that we are so often stripped of in media representation.
And why, I mean, the question of why are we like craving these stories, thinking of Disney and how many times like this father figure is present, you know, as a child, your first love are your parents, right? Like, that's my first love story, whether it's a complicated love story, whether it's not always picture perfect, there is love there. And whenever there's love, there's warmth, there's vulnerability, there's all those things, right? And so, like you said, Nikki, I think there is more room, and I'm happy that we're kind of taking up some of that space of Black fathers in all complexity, right? Like, he's not the perfect dad, but he's not a deadbeat absent dad either. He's doing what he can, how he can, because he's a human, flawed, just like all of us, you know? Yeah.
Well, then that begs to question, because I'm not quite, I no doubt this is about a single fatherhood type of story, but some people may actually ask, well, where's the mother?
She was there.
She
lived with her mother. Yeah, she lived with her mother.
Yeah, the story's not about her.
In and out.
It's just not about her. I think, I mean, my experience growing up with my dad was like, when we were together, there was like nobody else. It was like this little bubble where it was just like, because he was just an enormous kid. And so it was like, he wanted to do all the stupid shit I wanted to do. And we could just be crazy together and go on adventures and do whatever. And so it didn't, like, my mom was there, but she was working. She was being like the responsible
parent.
Put a roof over our heads and who put food on the table. And it was like, yeah, she's there, but who cares about her? She's not doing the adventure stuff with me. And so I think that June does have a mom, and I think probably she has a relationship with her mom by the time she's an adult that is much more established. But there's sort of this intangible relationship that she had that she's trying to wrap her mind around now with all of the information that she can now understand as an adult about what these like sort of crystalline memories are that she has of just her and her dad, and what feels like this like other world that they were able to get to together.
Exactly. I always imagine that in that scene where he's drunk and he leaves the house and he's like, I ain't got nothing for you or whatever. He comes out of the room. I imagine that he's in the room, like arguing with her mom and like leaves, you know, so she's not home alone when she's sitting on the floor, on the ground. Her mom is there, you know, but like Nicky said, it's, you know, the story's not about her. It's about their, you know, it's about their relationship, that love story, father-daughter love story.
That's right. You know, her presence is always nearby somehow, but it's not about that story. Nicky, so the father plays drums, which is basically in relation to your life experience. Was Junie as a writer? Is that basically a representation of yourself? You know, being a writer, or what's going on there?
Well, so there's a lot of ways to do that. And I know the most about writing, so that's why she's a writer. But I think any artist, sort of any person who's trying to make art about what their life experience is, can plug themselves into that story. I think it's such a challenge, especially when your parent is an artist and they are difficult. You have a difficult relationship with them, to try and understand who you are as an artist. In light of the legacy that they've left you and where that where you sort of end up, and trying to figure out like, how do I access all of the magic that I see that this person has and not fall into the same traps that they fell into. And so I wanted to tell a story about that and about trying to get back to that magical place that she knows she is possible because of her dad. And also trying to negotiate that when she knows like, part of what allowed him to go there was that he was not functional and he couldn't be there for her and he couldn't support her. So, I mean, the writer thing, like she could have been a painter. I just don't know anything about visual art. Like it could have been anything. But because I'm a writer, that's the easiest. And I think it's a nice contrast because he's a musician and music is like so otherworldly. It's like you can do things with music that you just can't do in other art forms. And so having something like that then you're trying to put into words and say like, I'm trying to describe to people what this is like, it's an added challenge.
Yeah.
Winter, how did you want to approach a film like this? Because you're basically filming two different life stages of Junie. You know, you have the Danielle stage and you have the Calla stage. Could you talk about trying to film those two different stages for a short film and using a bit of cinematography to distinguish both sides?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So from top, I knew that I wanted the like dream memory flashback scenes to have this warm hue around them. There's always like this warm light. It feels kind of foggy, almost like a memory she's trying to like crystallize in her brain. And then like put that against a very clean, sharp edge of the present. It's like, this is where we live. I could see all the details of this and my memories feel softer. Foggy. Like they feel magical because that's, you know, foggy. That's how they feel when you're dreaming. You're just kind of like, what was that? And it kind of exists only in your mind. Shooting, I think someone asked me that recently. I think having a clear through line story when shooting two different periods on 2 different days. So being with Danielle and for me having to go back and be like, what memory did she just come out of? And how does that influence the choices she's making in this part of this day? I was like the hardest part of like, all these pieces need to connect. and what's the story we're trying to tell, and how do we, you know, do that while bouncing around so many different time periods, you know. And like on our shooting, we had a weekend shoot. The past was Friday, Sunday, present was Saturday. So when Danielle came into the space, she hadn't seen any of the past. She was so disconnected from this world that we had just spent 12 hours shooting. So it was very much about bringing her imagination into this place that we were starting to like build visually. And I mean, that's easy to do. She just has the training. So I didn't feel like I was like, oh my God, this girl feels lost. It really was like, where is your head? Like, what is the work you're bringing into this space? This is what I'm bringing. Let's like find it in this moment together. So that was challenging, but so exciting. Sorry, go ahead.
It was funny when, I mean, I went to set like the next day after I shot to see Kayla and Terrence. And I didn't know either of them, but I wanted, I don't know. I'm like, it's such a small cast. I was like, I want to see, you know, what they're doing, and I want to know more about filmmaking, you know, myself. And so when I saw, you know, the way that they were, how it was so warm and it was so beautiful, I was so jealous. I was like, oh, this is so pretty.
You pretty too. The present's pretty too.
Yeah. It is. The present is pretty too. But what I got from it was like, oh, this is so cool to see, you know, like you said, how dreamy, how otherworldly it was, and like heightened. Because when you're a child, that is like, when I think of my childhood, the colors are brighter, like everything is bigger, everything is like magnified, you know. And then when you look at the story, you know, of who Junie was and her father and what she's become, it makes sense that someone who grew up with a lack of stability in their life as a child would grow up and be very stable, be very clean, like have all her ducks in a row, everything, you know, together. I was like, okay, I see. It makes a lot of sense.
I love you said that, Danielle, because that's like right. Like those are cool choices.
Yep.
You know, this film is so emotional. Danielle, how did you pull that off? I mean, we could feel that emotion from you.
I'm just a crybaby. I always have been.
No, girl, you did that.
No, I try to connect with the character as much as I, you know, with the story and the character. I mean, it's easy when the writing is good. You know, it's a little harder when the writing is bad. And it's like, okay, I gotta pull this from somewhere because these words ain't helping me. You know, but the writing was great. You know, the environment, that's another part of it. Like the set that you're on and who you're being directed by and who the crew is. It all aids in giving you the space to be creative enough to get into an emotional place or to tap into an emotional place. And I feel blessed that God has kind of given me a very high, like, I'm very empathetic. It's, you know, it's easy for me to empathize with my characters and with people. And I mean, I was kidding, but I mean, my mom always said I was a crybaby. Like I would cry as soon as she raised her voice. I'm like, ah. She's like, I ain't even whooped your butt yet. You crying? I just told you I was gonna whoop you. But but yeah, no, I think, you know, I just related to Junie and to that idea of loving someone so much, even when they've done things that hurt you, you know, and also being in a position of someone who has hurt someone who I loved, you know, very much, and done things that I'm not proud of. And, you know, so I think thinking about, you know, both sides and thinking about her in that moment of like trying to process, you know, her emotion, it was not hard for me to, you know, bring that emotion to it. So.
Wow. Well, I understand this is Nicky's writing debut for this, and this is also Winter's, what was it, feature short film debut.
Yeah, it is.
Talk about that experience, and Danielle, you could jump in because you are a veteran thespian in business. did you also help these young ladies through the process?
They was helping me. Shoot, they're incredible, and I haven't done a ton of film. I think Junebug is like my second short film, and the first short film I did was like in May, right before we did this one in August. So I've done a lot of I've done more television, but mostly theater. I'm majority theater, and just now like my TV credits and stuff are kind of rising or whatever. So the film, the film genre is one I want to get into more. So I think we were all kind of new. This is one of our first experiences. Us doing it all together. There's a lot of black girl magic up in there. So
always that. Always. Sorry, Nikki, did I cut you off?
No, girl, go.
No, what was the question? Sorry. I mean, yeah, this was my directorial film debut, but I've directed quite a bit up to this point, and I've produced a lot up to this point. But for me, it felt like I have been helping to facilitate someone else's baby, which I'm proud to do, right? That's just working, right? When you're booking and you're moving, there's somebody who's like, this is my child, and I am pushing this into the world. Will you join me and help me get it out there? And for me, this was my first time being like, I want to birth a baby. And who do I want in that room with me when I'm birthing that baby, right? And Nikki was the first name that came in my spirit. I knew it was Nicky Davis. I knew she had never written film before. I know a ton of screenwriters living in LA, but I was like, but she has that capacity, that real wealth of language and literature, and like she knows how to tell rich stories. I know how to shoot, right? Like I can shoot all day. I love it. I love talking through my shots with my DP. Like the crew side of it, I'm very comfortable. The working with actors part of it, I'm comfortable because I'm an actor, a trained actor. Working with Danielle, I knew immediately. I was like, got it. This woman knows her stuff. She knows her craft. Like that moment when she's on the floor, I would say one of your more emotional moments. I love like crouching on the floor with you and just like letting you be how you need to be. And I facilitate in whatever way, works best. That's how I direct. But the hardest part was like, you are like if you stop, it stops. Even now, like facilitating like festivals and press wants to talk to us. I'm the one that's like, oh God, I got to make sure everybody's like, that's the part of it that's like, I'm the first producer. Like I'm the one that made the first call, and that is exciting. And I'm proud of this piece, and I'm tired, and it is hard.
It's like having kids. It
is. Junebug is my kid, and I'm excited for her to walk out and do her own and influence people and leave me a little bit alone.
Well, every time somebody, a friend of mine watched it the other day, and he was like, this needs to be a feature. Like, this needs to be longer. Like, every time somebody says that, every time somebody sees it, they're like, so when are you guys going to finish it?
And it's crazy because it's 17 minutes. It's a long short film. Most short films are like
crazy that people
minimum.
are like, I know it's crazy that people want more of it, but
it's coming. I'm waiting for Nikki. She's releasing her debut novel at the moment. Multi-hyphenate. So once her novel is doing its thing, we'll be having a story meeting.
We'll be talking. I wrote it. I don't know. Winter asked me to write a film, and I said, Winter wants to collaborate. I'm going to write a film. I've never written a film before. This is a story that obviously is close to me. And so I've been thinking about how to tell it in a lot of different ways. And I come from a playwriting background. I studied playwriting in college. The crazy thing about film is that you can go anywhere. You could be like, in this moment we're here, and then in the next moment you can be completely somewhere else. You can't do that on stage. So that's just when I finished writing the first draft of it, I wrote it, most of it in an afternoon, and I sent it to Winter, and I was like, hey, there's kids in this, and it's like 17 different years. Is that fine?
I was like, sure, why not? It's fine. We'll work.
I was like, I don't know how we're going to shoot this, but that's kind of your problem. So here's the script.
Right.
But yeah, It was shockingly easier than I thought it would be to write this story, because the story lends itself to film and to short films in general. I watched like a few short films and I was like, okay, I kind of get what they are. I don't actually fully get what they are, but I was like, I know how we could tell this story in this amount of time, because it is really just that. It's about that struggle that you have when you're trying to articulate a relationship that just you can't put into words, and so much of that is so easily captured in just these little snapshots that you remember when you're trying to get the words out. So the story came pretty readily.
I mean, I feel like between first draft and like final locked script it
was like 3 days.
And that's like with you like taking time out and like being like, oh, I'm back. Like literally, I would say, well, you said 4 days of writing. The past was always there. It was perfect. But I think our present storyline was like the story.
Yeah, it changed.
Like, that changed a little, but like not really. I was like,
I know. I sent you like a page and a half, and I was like, this is kind of what I started with. I'm just like digging around. And you were like, you sent me an email that was like, this you digging around, we're good.
Okay.
I was like, keep going, girl. Just keep writing it.
Keep digging around, girl.
Yeah, keep digging, because you clearly got it.
Well, it sounds like on the table, all three of you are open to the idea of a feature film. Is that really on the horizon, or basically we moved on from the short film?
I would say there is definitely a feature. The plan is to develop this into a feature. I think there are so many questions audiences are asking, which I think is the right move with a short. Yeah. I think there's room to not answer every question simply because we don't have to, right? We're giving you this splice of this story in this life. But I would like to dream a little more with Junie and explore more of her memories, and
I would say
more of how the story plays out.
I am actually really excited because the questions that the audience have, that I have, and Winter and I will talk more about this, but I hear a lot of questions after seeing the short that I'm like, I don't want to answer any of those, but I have a lot of other things that I would like to talk about in a feature film. So I think there is potential, and I think there's potential to surprise people with what the feature version of this story could be.
Yeah. I want to definitely see why her and her father no longer talk, why they no longer talk. I want to see her journey with, either them maybe reconciling or trying to, or, her deciding, it's not something I want to do or whatever, like to see that journey as an adult and how it does affect her relationship, and, just to see how writing this book that she's trying to write maybe leads her back to her father as an adult. You know what I mean? Because I think no matter how much therapy you've had and all that, art has a way of like really helping you become vulnerable and, really helping you become vulnerable and not just repeat the mantras that your therapist tells you, because it's going to help you, work through whatever it is. But when you start writing something, when you start giving your heart to a piece of art, it can awaken certain things in you and help you realize even more. I mean, even at the end of the short, she's doing that, dun, 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 when she's typing, and then she's having that moment like, I am my father's child. Like, I am him. Like, so it could really be exciting with a feature length, just, to see more of that emotional journey for her as an adult.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of time, right, between when she's little and when she's writing this book. There's a lot of time that we haven't seen, and she knows what all of that story is, but we don't. So there's a lot of gaps to fill in.
Yeah, and I love what you said earlier, Danielle. Like, a woman who comes from such a lack of stability, her life is going to be so in shape. But where does that seed spark? And does that start in a healthy place? I think for me, at least, that usually starts in a controlling, fear-driven, anxiety-inducing, dark
Yes,
place that you heal
exactly.
through, and you find a way to like, oh, this is what I was seeking, and
Yeah.
this is
Yes.
like I can continue to be the
And you,
woman that look like.
yeah, and you have those, you know, the cracks where the light gets in, where you go like, remember when I used to be like that? Remember when I used to go dance barefoot in the park? Remember when I used to be that person? How come I
on
don't
for the
do that
brain
now?
trust. This
And
is
then
the
it's
brain
like,
trust for the future right now.
and then it's like, oh, you have to kind of make your peace with, and that to me is like what the story, because so many people I think see the short and come away being like, oh, what's the story with her dad, and what is, you know, what's his life like, and all of those things. And to me, like, the story is, it's called Junebug. Her dad is the only one who calls her that. And it's about her making peace with that little person who lost so much, and where she's grown up and become. So really where the story is, and her journey in making and reconciling with that little version of herself, and all of the pain and all of the beauty in that relationship that she lost and is trying to get back to. That's what the story is. Her dad is, you know, he is who he is, but she has so much still that she has to figure out for herself.
Well, that was awesome. That was like a brainstorming session in a writer's room or something, like without any arguments.
Right.
If you get us together, this is kind of what happens. We just take it and just like keep going.
I love it.
Well, let me cover at least one more subject that's always important, is to talk about the rest of the cast, because even though it is a very small cast, let's discuss about, you know, Kayla and Terrence, because they are perfect as mother-daughter, and Danielle could talk about working along with Jerry as the boyfriend on the set. Go for it.
Jerry was awesome. He was great.
Ahead,
oh, sorry. Okay.
No, please.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Jerry was awesome. He's such a sweet person. Like, who he's playing is himself, pretty much. Like, he's just very sweet. You know, he's kind of new to acting, so he was very like eager, you know, to do well and to, you know, be helpful in the scenes, because, you know, that's what matters. You know, when you're acting with someone, you want to be acting with someone who's going to be available, you know, to you. And so I think that, you know, he was very open, and just a joy to work with, which is always nice. You don't, you know, you do some of these short films and stuff, you don't know who you're going to be working with, you know. So I'm very grateful, you know, for the experience I had working with him. He was really awesome to work with.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. He kind of got that part. I was like, you're a really nice guy, and I need a really nice guy for this film. Just supportive, cooking dinner, laying on the floor if he has to. Just doing whatever you need from me is what I'll do. And I'm happy that you felt that, Danielle, too, from the actor. I think that is important. And speaking on Terrence and Kayla, I mean, we all saw the film. They are fantastic. Like, they are... I mean, truly. And I mean, this was my first time working with a child actor in this capacity. And we actually worked with 2 child actors on this piece with very limited time. So that was stress inducing before we got to set. But the moment, and I mean the moment they walked on set, I felt a calm. I was like, we are going to be fine. Terrence and Kayla, they came together. Funny story, talking about alignment and how everything just feels so organic. They knew each other. Terrence writes children's books and children's like stories. Kayla's family had just met him at a bookstore. He was doing a signing, I think, and they happened to just be going to the bookstore with the kids, and they met. So they had his books at home, and Kayla was like, I remember you. And it just felt like they sat on the floor and started living in their own little bubble immediately. And I was like, stay there, you know. Do your thing. Like, let us deal with all this other logistics, set, crew, cameras everywhere. Y'all stay in that bubble, because if you stay in that bubble while we're shooting, we'll get it. Like,
they were magical. They were really father and daughter. Like, you could feel it. And then our little, like, so Kayla I'm her mentor now. Like, so just from me I showed up on set. And she's a little star. She's a star. Like, she is a star. she has such a magnetic personality, you know. So yeah, it was just beautiful to watch her work, and Terrence is awesome as well.
And speaking to sorry, Nikki, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, they were so much. There were times that I was on set that I was like, I got to get out of here. I was like, it's a good thing I'm in therapy. This is just exactly what I remember. And it was so powerful, even being in the room and then seeing it. It's just like, it's unreal. They were amazing.
Yeah. And real quick, I just want to speak to like the skill that they have. Like, I think they're great people, very much so, great personality, warm hearts, but they are very talented, and the technique was there. Because what people, a lot of like non-film people don't realize is that a lot of those shots were like one take, like one shot, no cuts, which meant I was very passionate about that, and I thought that would really fit the vibe of the piece. But I didn't know if a child actor would be able to get the choreography required, and the subtle choreography of just like stepping here, holding literally for 3 seconds. When you feel camera wrap, then you walk past, then you hold it. There's just all these little things that I can't keep cueing for you. And to see Kayla pick it up almost like, duh, like I got you.
Well, it was a dance routine. She can dance, so it's a dance routine.
And I'm a dancer too. I was like, I get you. Like, once girl, we in it. So they were just really, really talented. Just came ready to work, which makes everything easier.
That's really awesome. I am so glad all the pieces actually fit together to make this a perfect short film. But one more thing before I let all you ladies go, because obviously we are all speaking from different locations via Zoom right now, because we are living in crazy times right now. So I want to know is, how are you staying creative and sane during times like this?
Love that question.
Am I? Am I?
Right. I said, I'm going to let the sane people speak first.
I feel pretty sane. I could talk first. I'm writing a lot right now. I'm writing probably more than I've ever written. I write probably 12 hours a day on the weekends. Like, I'll just write all day. I sit down, I wake up, I get up, I like come into the dining room, I sit at the table, and I write all day. And it, because I don't like the world outside, so I make up worlds I'd rather be in.
Love it.
And it makes me happier, and it makes me, it feels really good. So that's keeping me sane, making up things that make things make sense and remind me why I love people, and why, and also just, it feels like art, we need it so much right now, because it's such a force for connection, and when you have to be far away from people, it's such a great way to be able to reach out in a genuine way. And so I'm just writing a lot, and some of it is not very good, but just making a lot of art.
I'm sure it's solid. I'm sure it is. Okay.
Her not good is great.
Right. Exactly.
I think same for me. Like, I'm not really a writer, but I'm trying to get into it. I think I kind of have a knack for it. So I started writing like a little web. I don't even know what it is. I think it might be a short. It might be me starting a web series about my childhood. I'm gonna send it to you, Nikki, so you can read it.
Yeah. I would love to.
Yeah. I have episode 1, but then I was thinking, well, this could probably just be a short, or at least something that I could pitch and be like, hey, here's a short, maybe it could be a TV series or whatever. Anyway, I'll send it to y'all. But I've done that. I paint a lot more. I had stopped drawing. When I was a kid, I used to draw, sketch all the time. Like, I could sketch people, and I just kind of stopped doing that because I was doing other creative things. And so quarantine kind of put me back in touch with my art, and painting and drawing and things like that. And my kids too. My kids, they draw. And so it made me go, oh, I draw too. Like, let me start doing that again. And it's so peaceful. And then I'm busy. I'm a mother of 2. So my kids are distance learning. So that's a whole, other thing that's keeping me, it's driving me crazy, but also, keeps me busy. And then visiting family, you know, I know it's a pandemic, but you know, I've traveled. I went to visit a friend in New York, and I booked a job. So I was in Chicago last week shooting a TV show, and you know, thank God for that. You know, I feel very grateful to have booked something during a pandemic, you know, but I think the majority of the time has been finding ways to connect with people that I love, you know, with my family and with my friends. And, you know, of course I pray, but I started meditating as well. I drink a lot of wine. It's all helpful. It's all helpful in many ways. And then I also curate a show on Zoom for a theater company I'm a part of called Reimagine. And so it's like amplifying, you know, voices of color. So that has occupied a lot of my time as well. So just, you know, staying busy, staying creative, and knowing, you know, this is going to pass. We're not going to be in a pandemic forever, you know, and those days when I'm tired and when I'm over it, I allow myself to be tired and over it. And then the next day I get back on it, you know, but just learning how to be kind to myself. I think that's helping me a lot.
I love that. I love that, Danielle. I think that's awesome. I'll keep it short. I don't know. I mean, I have been working consistently through the pandemic just because my job turned into a work from home. So I produce and direct for Condé Nast, which owns a lot of like magazine brands. So I did a ton of shooting. Actually, I was probably busier in the pandemic than I was in the office. And then I left there, and I also booked a job. I booked a documentary series. So for the last 2 months, have been directing the first season of a docuseries for TV, which has been fantastic. And as of last week, I have decided that I'm going to stop. And I'm going to take a 2-month hiatus because I was like, I'm so busy and there's so much going on in the world. And I have family financially struggling. I have family who are like higher risk because of health stuff. And so I'm dealing with that stress, the racial issue of everything going on, that stress, the work stress, and then being on set again, that stress, while like obviously taking COVID as seriously as possible. So the next 2 months I am reading. I have Toni Morrison sitting right in front of me. I am journaling. I am in therapy, like teletherapy, and I am really taking space to feel all my feelings, to explore them. I would love for some sort of work to come out of this season, but even that has to happen organically. Like if it feels like a gig I booked, like I don't have the capacity for it.
Right. Yeah.
In this
that
moment,
therapy,
you know. That
therapy is that. Yeah, I was in therapy
real.
too.
Me too. Same.
Yay, therapy.
Right.
Look at us being healthy and creative.
Come on, Black women. We have to. We got to keep ourselves sane and whole and protected. Right? Who else gonna do it if we don't? Right.
Well, you know what? That is amazing, especially the fact that everyone is keeping so busy. My life, all I do is just eat and sleep and no therapy.
Good for you. Good for you, dude.
Hey, do what you need to do.
Quite opposite from whatever you ladies are doing. But real fast, for audience who do want to check out Junebug, how can they check this out?
Oh my goodness. Well, our next festival is the Holly Shorts Festival. I am obsessed. I love that festival. There's a lot of good work happening this year. The festival starts, I believe, November 23rd. I could be wrong, but you could always check out screening dates on our Instagram at Junebug Film. And you can also check out the Holly Shorts website. They'll have the full schedule of interviews and everything connected to the film. And then hopefully very soon, the film will have its own sort of home base where you'll be able to watch the work whenever you want and however you want and whichever like phone, computer you want. So make sure you just follow us at Junebug Film, and all those updates will be posted there.
That's terrific. Well, hey, congratulations once again, ladies, for Junebug.
Thank you.
Hopefully more of the world will get to see it. And this is a very enlightening roundtable discussion of Junebug. Not to mention, we totally passed at 17 minutes of the short on this discussion.
Right.
So, hey,
I
thank
love
you
it.
very much, ladies. And
you so
hopefully we
much.
get to discuss the next project just like this again.
Thank you
Yes,
so
we'd
much.
love to be back. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so
Hey,
much.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.
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 Thank you guys. Bye.